Hi, John.
Hey, Alex.
You know what I hate?
What do you hate?
How bad I'm going to feel because we're going to have about an hour of everyone making fun of me because I really like this movie.
Oh, oh no.
Yeah.
Oh, honey, no.
Yeah.
That's
We watched
okay.
Joker 2, Folie and Deux.
Everybody loves a clown, so why can't you? A clown has feelings too.
Before everybody makes fun of me for my horrible, horrible taste in movies that I'm literally ashamed of, let us introduce, we have a special guest on the show, the man, the myth, the legend, AP Strange. Hello, sir.
Hey, thanks for having me on.
Yes, welcome on to what might be my most embarrassing episode ever. I feel like this you're a perfect person to watch me absolutely feel like a fucking idiot in front of.
Well, I
Uh,
I picked the movie, so you know that I chose this for you.
So it was a trap. I see.
Yes, yes.
I don't think there's no way you could have known. I mean, I didn't mean for it to happen. I invited my friend over. I'm like, I gotta watch this shitty movie, and like, I just maybe it'd be better with other people around. And like, we both like kind of got into it. Like, we were both really enjoying it. Like, this is fucking weird. I don't know what I'm gonna do. Now I got two people I have to defend myself
No,
against.
that's fine. I don't judge you. I
You
mean, I'm
should.
ashamed, but I don't judge you for it.
But it's a shame that you've learned to live with over a long period of
Mm-hmm.
working together. Yeah.
Yeah,
So
yeah, yeah.
That's true. Yeah. Though John knew me before we worked together, so there was like a decade of
Yeah.
shame before we even started talking into microphones.
right, right.
Built-in shame.
You'll be happy to know, Alex, that you're not alone because John Waters loved this movie. He thought it was one of the best of the year. I found a quote
Good.
from him saying so.
And I believe Quentin Tarantino is also a fan of it. So you're among all kinds of artists that like this.
So, I'm not, look, I can't be like, hey, AP and John, I need you to explain yourselves to me. But like, I genuinely don't know why everybody hates this movie. It's a little long.
Yeah,
But I loved it. The fucking musicals were weird as shit. Like this is the most unique movie I've seen in so long. And that's all I want out of movies. And it's beautiful. Like the shot composition is great. The color timing is great. Like, I liked it.
it is. I personally, I found it phenomenally boring. Just
Hmm.
amazing. Like, I don't care about what's happening. Arthur, like, there's no arc for Arthur. He just kind of is there and is sad and then gets sad some more. I think they completely wasted Lady Gaga. I think the musical numbers were lifeless. Like, not since Sly Stallone and Rhinestone have I been less interested in listening to a man try to carry a tune.
Hmm.
Joaquin Phoenix's singing is not anything I enjoyed. I feel like the whole thing's an apology for the first movie, which I think is extremely strange. And yeah, it's just very, very lackluster. And the idea that it was bad on purpose, I think is what they call cope. I think it's fine to be anti fan service, but you can do that without making the a really boring, dull movie.
Okay, I'm gonna get back to that. But what about you there, Monsignor Strange?
I was attracted to this movie because all the people that loved the first movie hated this one.
Mm-hmm.
And I hated the first movie, so I assumed that that I would love this one. Um, I would fall short of love with it, but I do like a lot of what they did. And I'm not sure it was executed well. I mean, there was certainly much more Bacharach than I expected in the
Mm-hmm.
soundtrack.
Yeah, didn't see that coming. Yeah.
About 200% more Bacharach than I was expecting.
It's well above the suggested limit of Baccarat.
Yeah, unless it's the Blob theme song, and then you can just give me that all day.
Then it's fine.
Right. I'm just really confused by the whole Arthur Fleck fascination, and I guess what I read today was that Joaquin Phoenix had like a dream where he was playing Fleck and singing, and that's kind of
Mm-hmm.
what inspired the musical idea for this. And I don't really understand why plumbing the depths of this Fleck character is all that interesting to anybody other than Joaquin Phoenix. Just because he's not Joker, right? He's not
Yeah.
the Joker.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
and they go way out of their way, spoilers for the end, to show you that he's not the Joker, really. As far as DC goes, he's never going to end up fighting Batman or anything like that. But he's just kind of like John said, like a sad guy, like a sad guy with a
Yeah.
tragic history, and he never really changes from that. He always reverts right back to it.
That's kind of what I responded to. Like, I don't care about the Joker of it all. Like, I like this as a book. Like, if this weren't the Joker, which it doesn't have to be, it isn't. Like, just It's this fucked up guy that I think of it almost like if they ever came out with Fight Club 2 and they just like really like, no, you missed the fucking point. This is the you missed the fucking point movie of just, oh, you didn't understand that this was a sad sack piece of shit. Everything's in his brain. I really liked how, I don't know, it felt like, I mean, this is the most pretentious, it's like cinema. Like there's actually like, it's understanding a character on a level that like we don't get normally. Like you don't see the results of this first movie. I get how it can be cult of personality and that people get behind the Joker. Like I get it. I don't agree with, but I get it. You can't do that with this. Like this is he's just a sad sack man. He's a person with mental, issues, and we just got to watch that for a full movie, which I, as somebody with a fucking broken ass brain, it was nice. I
Yeah.
got like, yeah, that is what it's like.
Yeah, we did that in the first one though.
Right.
Like that was
No, but the first
that was the first one.
there was no, but the first one there was a big like ha cha cha at the end. He blew up Murray's head, and
Yeah.
there's big riots, and like there was you could see how idiots would misunderstand that as a hero's arc.
Well, see,
This one is just
that's part of my problem is that, see, first of all, I always thought that ending was fairly ambiguous about there being riots and stuff like that. That seemed like some of that was in his head. This one they went, no, I guess that actually did happen. People got very excited about someone shooting Jay Leto in the face. My problem is part of what you're saying is it feels like this movie is apologizing for that first movie, is not saying, hey, but really behind this, there's Arthur, and we're really not caring about Arthur, even though it puts forward that idea. I don't think it builds that up very well. But I do think that like, it's so funny to think about now the absolute insanity of the press and the reaction to the first one and the fear of like, this is going to cause some sort of like incel shooting thing or something like that. But it also kind of feels like the popularity of this, that Todd Phillips heard all those people making fun of the Joker and that we live in a society and like wanted to distance himself from all that and be like, actually, no, because the Joker's not cool. Whereas the first one is more like, see how you can take how the you have this sort of delicate person, kind of like Travis Bickle or whatever, that this damaged person that society acting upon, and we leave these people in the gutter, and then what can happen out of that, which I think is particularly, a resonant message, particularly lately. In this one where it's like, yeah, it doesn't really matter anyway. Like what you do doesn't matter. You're still going to be this sad little weirdo. And even though your actions might have spurned anything, that doesn't matter. It just felt like this weird like negation of the first movie that I don't think was necessary. It didn't, I don't think it sort of subtly or satirically like undercut it in any way. It just felt like a mea culpa on the whole thing.
I don't disagree with you. I just, not the mea culpa part. I think it undercuts the first film, and that's interesting to me.
Yeah, but I
Like,
guess
this is such an interesting follow-up to me. Like, I've never seen something like this before. That's what part of what fascinated me with it. I didn't think of it as apology, more like it's like a response to how people can misunderstand a movie. Like, it doesn't feel like he's apologizing. It's just kind of going, well, you didn't get it this time. Let me try to be more clear here. This is just a person with mental health issues. This is not a hero,
Right. Well, then I think that's a failure on your part a bit, Todd Phillips, because you made the movie that way. You know what I mean? And so like putting it on like, no, you guys didn't actually get it what I was trying to do. I don't get what you're trying to do here. The Harley Quinn character is completely pointless. Like I feel like it's really unnecessary to the whole thing of what you're trying to do. That you had this other character that was, everyone likes you just because you're the Joker. And this person only likes you because you're the Joker. Okay. You know what I mean? Like it was putting a hat on a hat a little bit for me. If they had structured that a little bit differently, like had her do more than just be there and occasionally sing, which I'm not hey, it's great to hear Lady Gaga sing, but just outside of the musical numbers, she felt very ancillary to the whole thing.
Yeah, and I found myself confused about like, are they going to pull one over where Harley Quinn doesn't actually exist? Like this whole
Right.
Is that all just going to be a figment of his imagination, like the entire first movie apparently was? And and if the first movie was all his imaginings, then why is he in jail? Like, so he really did do some of that, then,
Well, yeah, and they also in the first movie it kind of made it seem, or at least it left it open to like, what did he do to her? At a certain point, you stop seeing her, and it maybe he killed her. I don't know.
He's just running
But then when she
around
comes back, no, he didn't. Yeah, it's fine.
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of inconsistencies with that where, like, I'm not sure if people like Fleck in this movie or if they're making fun of him or what's going on, because the way the guards treat him, for instance, they're just saying, "Hey, you got a joke for us today?" And they seem to like care about him, and they're like carrying him around, and but then other times they're kind of mean to him, and then with the other inmates, they kind of treat him like a celebrity. but then you kind of get the feeling that maybe they're making fun of him or he's isolated there. And I'm like, this is really inconsistent. I'm not really sure how I'm supposed to feel about him in relation to the other characters in this movie.
Well, I think part of that is also that like you don't get the sense that being the Joker for kind of resting on this like, oh, but is he the Joker or isn't he? He doesn't do anything except be sad this entire movie.
Right.
Like there's not this battle that you get in the little animation in the front doesn't happen in the movie. It doesn't feel like. It just is at the end when he goes, "Oh, I guess I'm not the Joker." It just didn't feel like that was that was earned. You didn't feel him that push pull.
That animation
Right.
in the front I took as more of a recap of the first movie than what the kind of animating struggle is of this one. It just seemed like kind of like in previously on Joker.
Well, it
But
was, but it's specifically setting up that my shadow, that like particularly with the way that surprise appearance by Catherine Keener. I didn't know she was in this movie. That was great to see. Setting up the like, oh no, the Joker's a separate personality.
Yeah.
I think that's a running through line of this is the separation between the two, not necessarily him becoming the shadow.
Yeah, I get so the way I was reading it is more along the lines of like, so this movie's very much the reaction to someone else, not the. So this movie's about the reactions to the Joker, not about the Joker himself. So
Mhm.
it's them making. At no point did he say, "Oh, I've got the shadow, the Joker, somebody else." Like they put that on him. The people that followed him, the people that like started burning down Gotham, put that on him. Like these are, I think that's part of the reaction to like the first movie of it all. Of he doesn't have direct action in his life. He's just kind of sitting there as his life happens around him. Like
Mhm.
Harley shows up and forces herself on him through lies, which is the other aspect too, is a response to she's basically a Wayne. She's an Upper East Side kid that like attracted to her, which kind of, again, that opposite kind of, these idiots see something and go, oh, privileged upbringing, and now my head's gonna, I'm in Fight Club kind of shit.
I guess that's part of my problem though, is that you're like, yeah, everyone just put this stuff on him. Yes, because as Arthur Fleck, he does nothing. And like, that's not as interesting in the second movie. I'm not saying he has to be the Joker, whatever. You can still do all this stuff. Just do it in a way that's not boring, because it's just him being sad and people abusing him. And then eventually goes, oh yeah, I'm not the Joker. Okay. Like it just felt very lackluster, the whole thing. There was nothing really propelling me through the story at all. It was just watching this guy be sad and people be mean, and then at the end people are mean to him.
Yeah, I felt like there was a lot more songs than story going on.
Mm-hmm. And I wouldn't mind that if they were fun or like interesting, and like when they were doing the like fake Sonny and Cher, a Brady Bunch variety hour thing, like that was kind of a fun little aside, and then it just kind of kept going. And then some of the other things, they're just, because they don't look any different. Like if you've ever seen Dancer in the Dark, it's like as grim as Dancer in the Dark, but it's not adhering to that bullshit Dogma 95 stuff. It's just, no, we decided to make even his internal fantasy grim and stupid. Yeah.
See, I like
not a
that.
fan. Yeah.
I also like how like there's musical numbers that are kind of in the real world where he's got a bad singing voice, and then when it's fully in the imaginary world, he's got a good singing voice. Same for Gaga. I thought that was really well done. See, everything you're saying is a problem like that you don't like about the movie. Like that sounds great, because like I don't get to see movies like this. Like every movie's got all this stupid like this whole movie is just pretty much everybody going, "Hey, you're the Joker, right? You're the Joker." Like the movie starts off with like he's so fucked in the head he barely speaks. Like he's laconic until some idiot lady in the singing class like forces him to kind of maybe start thinking about being the Joker again through just lies, just manipulated schmuck.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. That was propelling to me.
Yeah, it just felt very grim. And you can watch lots of movies like these. There's a whole world of cinema out there. You could watch musicals that are good. There's a whole bunch of them out there.
No, but it's not a musical. That's the point.
What do you mean this isn't a musical? This is absolutely a musical.
No, it's not really a musical. It's a
jukebox
musical.
Yeah, it's a jukebox musical, which also is rather fitting that like, yeah, we couldn't be bothered to go all the way with this. We're kind of going to half measure this. Yeah, I just none of that stuff did it for me. Again, nice to hear Lady Gaga, but I've never been a fan of the Harley Quinn character, but like this was maybe the most uninteresting version of it, because I feel like their interaction, like you said, was just like, I'm trying to get you to be the Joker, and then someone reads her Wikipedia and goes, oh, she's actually bad, and then she's like, yeah, I guess I am. I don't know, they just didn't really, that their interactions never really did much for me.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like it could have been more over the top in some of those places. I mean, I really appreciated the set designs where they really went wild, and it looked like they were like on top of Gotham City or something like that. You see
Mhm.
the big cityscape out and back. I feel like it just should have been a series of that, like dreamlike, surreal sequences, and either dispense with the courtroom drama aspect of it or something. Something had to give in there, just to make it like more of what Alex likes in this. Just do that.
Yeah, I would have been totally fine with that because I think the courtroom stuff is some of the worst stuff.
Yeah.
Oh, I like the courtroom stuff too. I like the whole thing, man. And I like how bad the musical numbers are. That's kind of part of it. It's like it's the imagination of a schmuck. Like he's a nothing. So like his big musical numbers, like I guess we're standing in front of like some kind of like gate, and there's like my dwarf friend is there, and that's the whole thing. Like it's kind of I
Right.
think that's amazing.
And you could do all this, but have it be entertaining. But
Oh,
they
yeah, it
just
was
they
entertaining.
don't. It's just so just drab. The only like genuine joy I got out of the entire movie is when during the courtroom scene, when he's being the big fancy Southern lawyer, which would have been funny if it wasn't 9 hours into this movie. But he's interviewing the little person from the first one, Puddles,
Yeah.
and he's like quizzing him about how he's like, is Puddles even your real name? And they kind of go through it, and then when he gets back to his desk, that's all he has written on his note is Puddles. Like that's how he was going to get him. And I like that kind of energy. I would have liked a lot more in this, but there's not. There's just dour. It's just him frowning. It's like her. It's like a version of her where instead of just a close up of his face making that dumb face, he's just frowning all the time. And I'm like, it made me kind of come to your point of thing, AP Strange, where I'm like, why do I care about this guy? I don't. And if the whole thing is that no one does because they only care about the Joker, you haven't given me a reason to. Like people should only care about him because he's the Joker.
Yeah, or not be mean to him just because he's weird. I mean, that's the thing in the first one is like he gets beat up or like shit on for all the stupidest reasons, and it's like, yeah, and it's not because he's evil, and like I don't know, I always like struggle with when you kind of conflate straight mental illness with neurological issues, with trauma, with like evil tendencies or homicidal tendencies, because I'm just like, that's kind of a dangerous line. Like pick a few of those, maybe. Don't like because I think it just reinforces the idea that you should be mean to people that are acting weird around you.
Right, or else they'll become the Joker.
Right. You got to keep those.
I mean, that's how I got my start.
Yeah.
I was traumatically mocked, and that's how I took on the persona as the original bad boy of podcasting.
So so that was your Joker moment where you became the original bad boy of podcasting. See,
He said it. He said the line. Yeah. Say Cumsies next.
So it served you well then. So
Oh yeah. No, this is definitely where my life was meant to go. Yeah, the bad on purpose thing I wanted to talk about too is that's a weird. Okay, maybe it's just because I like the movie, but like, there's nothing bad about it. I could definitely get the boring, but it's really well shot and the acting's good. Like I don't see how anybody could think it's bad on purpose.
Yeah, it's because it's just not what they wanted. Is basically what that boils down to.
Fair cop. Yeah, people are dumb.
Yeah, and like I do think like going unexpected is not always a bad thing. It's not always good either, but like I think that's great to challenge expectations. I mean, we on the other podcast we just talked about about Gremlins 2, which completely is satirizes the first one heavily, but does so in a way that's actually like entertaining and fun and still shows some kind of love for the original one. But this one it doesn't feel like he cares about Arthur Fleck. In going down this route, like I'm all for like, oh, it's a jukebox musical. That's crazy. But the people that think that the Joker would like the Joker, making a boring movie would be chaotic and whatever. I don't understand. I think that's just people trying to convince themselves that the Joker is still cool.
Yeah, I think there could have been more humor in there. Like, why not play it funny instead of grim and dramatic in everything that's not a song,
Yeah, because I think even in the first one, Arthur Fleck like has a little bit of levity to him. Like he is a sad sack, but he wants to entertain and that. And that's gone, except for when he puts on the makeup, and even then, no one's that excited about it.
He had that good line where the guy wanted him to sign his book, and he said, "I hope you get cancer."
Yes, yeah, that's
a knee slapper.
That was good
because
he was being a jerk.
That's a crowd pleaser right there. I hope you get
There's some like, yeah, no, the movie could definitely use more levity. That's, I got no problem with that. But some of the kind of upbeat stuff that people like, I really like the kind of frantic Harley thing where she just like, hey, you want to get out of here, and just lights her own fucking piano on fire. And the entire point of that is just so they can go outside and sing for a little bit. Like they barely tried to escape. I thought that was fun.
Seeing some more of their relationship would have been good, because again, I kind of feel like I'm being told these things rather than seeing them. You know what I mean? It's like, she didn't have to do all this to get him to love her, because she just had to like look at him and he'd be like, oh, someone's paying attention to me.
Right.
But she's apparently got problems too. But like, their relationship felt very thin, simply because if they're going out and singing, like, you don't know, is that just in his head? Is this something that's actually happening? So we're just sort of seeing this entire relationship from his point of view, which I understand from a standpoint of later when we come back and it's revealed that no, she only liked him for being Joker, like that being more devastating. And perhaps he built this up too much in his head, but there just didn't seem like any foundation there other than her just being there and him and like smiling at him and him being like, well, I guess I'm in love now. And so whatever that was supposed to, if that was supposed to feel heavier, it didn't feel that way to me. Because it felt like, yeah, you've just been making this all up.
But especially when he was in solitary and she paid off a guard, I guess, to let her in. I think that's just the cardinal thing you're not supposed to do when somebody's in solitary. That's just generally what that means. But
yeah,
it's part of the day. Yeah. Solitary.
It's kind of built in.
But
it's solitary, so it's less people than a regular
right.
Terry.
So I was assuming he's hallucinating her being there for that part. You know, like I kept thinking like, oh, this is the part that he's imagining. You know, and then yeah.
So let's talk about the imagination of it all, because there is a reading of this film that this is still entirely in his head. Because when he meets Harley Quinn for the first time, she does the dramatic put her fingers to the head and pretends to shoot herself from the first movie. No one saw that in the first movie other than the audience. Now, the argument could be that the TV movie based on what happened, that she's watched a few times, featured that scene. But we still are confronted with the fact that no one would know that happened other than him and maybe Zazie Beetz. But it sounds like she wasn't very talkative to the press or anything about it. So, like, how would they know about that specific finger to the head, shoot yourself thing that was from the first movie that only we as the audience saw?
I don't remember that happening in the first movie. Did it happen like in her apartment or something?
That's how we bonded with Zazie Beetz, and Zazie Beetz her kid was annoying her, and he does and she does the back as a hey, you know, like in his, but that's his imaginary self. So Gaga doing this, I should use her real name, Stephanie, doing this, makes me think that maybe this whole movie is actually we're still just in Arthur's head. None of this happened. Like there's literally no part of the movie that's real, or it's more imaginary than we're giving credit for.
Or hear me out, psychic link, because it's a Folie Deux.
Oh,
so they have a shared delusion telepathically.
Love it.
There we go.
Yeah, because they both fell into the chemical bath at Acme Chemical shortly before this movie started, and gave him psychic powers.
Yeah.
Is there shared delusion that he's the Joker? Is that what the shared delusion in this is?
I mean, I think that's what they try to beat you over the head with. But is it? I don't know.
I mean, that's my guess. That's the only reason I can come out with this, because it doesn't seem like, again, if you want to talk about how much of this is in his head, she doesn't have any. She has this fantasy about him being this certain way, and I guess the idea is that he's supposed to have that too, but it doesn't. I guess part of my problem with this is it boils down to that it was never that. Yes, he was never the Joker. If he was the Joker and then realized, oh, I'm Arthur Fleck, that's something. But he was never the Joker. He was always Arthur Fleck. Mm-hmm. Like it never felt like he was really. It feels like that struggle was being made at him rather than something he was struggling with.
Yeah, in the second movie, in this movie especially, it's more things. But that was kind of the thing. I've said this before. Just that's the part that I found interesting is how much for a lead character, how many things are just forced on him. Like he's almost like this. He's almost like he's just being carried by the momentum of the film, other than being the main character, which I just found fascinating.
Yeah, I guess I just don't think that that's at a point that's interesting, because like you have classic example being there with Peter Sellers, which is him just people just sort of reflecting themselves onto him and him kind of react like that. And that's kind of the whole point. Whereas this doesn't feel like that's the message. It just feels like, that people want him to be this thing and he's not. but at the same time, he did do those things, and he never has like at the end where he's like, yeah, I guess maybe that was bad. I don't know. It doesn't even feel like he really believes that.
Yeah. I mean, I mean, if people want him to be that thing, and he's trying to be that thing, like if you call a movie a thing, I want to go to the movie and see the thing that you called it. So if the Joker's not in it ever, if this isn't about the Joker,
Oh, yeah.
why does it even take place in Gotham, and why is it called Joker? Like, why have the Waynes in it and Harvey Dent?
Right.
Like, why bother? This is just a different movie. And the first movie I felt like was just some weird combination of oh crap, that movie with Jerry Lewis and Robert De Niro,
Oh,
the
King of Comedy.
King of Comedy. Yeah, it was like a weird interpretation of King of Comedy.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, and maybe a few other movies that Scorsese did, but and I just couldn't understand why it had to be Gotham, and why it had to be like feel like the 1970s. Which again, with this one, I'm not sure. This one didn't seem to feel like it was kind of in the same timeline. Like it almost didn't seem like it was as old. Like maybe it was, but
No, but yeah, it did have. I mean, like I think they really want it to be this kind of like outside of time thing.
Yeah.
But I agree with you that it did feel a little bit more modern than what the previous one did, and not that much time has passed. But yeah, that's it. That's a very good point. Like, so if this is the whole thing, why even have it be the Joker at all?
right.
And then like, so I guess at the end, when you see the guy cutting the Glasgow smile into his face, that but Arthur made the real Joker. I don't know. That's these weird, the weird obsession with the Joker and the way that we deal with it. Like I think about Gotham, the show, and how like every other character was like, no, this guy's the Joker. No, he's not. It's actually this guy that's the Joker. But is he? Yes. No. That it's just fine to have a guy be the Joker. You can just do that. It's not a big deal.
Well,
But I
in
think
the
that,
end,
and even if
in the end, the Joker was the friends we made along the way.
that's right. Yes. So if the idea is that like,
in the end, it was actually the guy's twin brother that he got Joker gassed and then forced his personality onto him was the Joker we met along the way.
see, yeah,
At least according to Gotham.
that's way more fun than this.
That's actually happened.
Because if it's just that, like, what did he? So he made the other Joker. He inspired the other Joker to be by not being the Joker. What's the message there? Do you think?
I think what it comes down to is the Joker of it all is he got a budget and made a really weird film.
Yeah,
And he got that budget because of the word Joker. So I'm kind of ignoring the whole Batman aspect of it. Like, same as the Penguin series we watched. I love how little Batman there is in that. Like, I'm doing the exact same thing with these movies. Just fine, he's called Joker. Don't care. Tell me a weird story.
I mean, I'm for that. Like, and I like that it was reported that James Gunn was like, yeah, no, he didn't talk to me about this at all. Like, he rejected notes, all this stuff. Fine, I'm all for that. That's cool. But I don't know, just the end result wasn't what I wanted. But I mean, but seriously though, like if since it is called the Joker and he did bother to have that scene at the end, what do you think that was supposed to mean?
Yeah, I mean, he wasn't setting it up for a third one. I mean, he said
Mhm.
as much, right? He's not going to do a third one. Obviously, not now because
Right.
they definitely wouldn't do that. But yeah, I mean, they also set up Two-Face because you see,
yeah.
Harvey Dent is
Yeah.
injured in the explosion and half of his face is burned. So they're just kind of throwing, and they don't linger on it, but they kind of let you know that happened. So you get the origin story a little bit there. But yeah, I mean, it did kind of feel like Gotham, which I loved, by the way. I loved that TV series because to me, all of these characters are kind of timeless. They've been around for, 70, 80 years, sometimes.
Yep.
However
At this
long.
point.
Yeah, and it's and there's so many things that have been done with the Joker, and to try to reckon with that in a TV series and show you a little flavor of each. And they did the same thing with the Riddler and the same thing with the Penguin, and Solomon Grundy. Like I ran through the whole list of all these characters and did it all the different versions of them, and gave you reasons why that would happen that made no sense. And you're like, yes, this is comic book logic. I love this because I love comic books. Like, this is great. And I think the Joker movies kind of operate more on a dream logic thing. And if that's the case, I would want them to be a little bit more surreal than they are and not play it so straight. you know. Um, so I'd rather, you know, I did actually like this movie ultimately. I thought this movie was good, and I liked that it was like kind of innovative, but also dramatically different than the first one. And
Mhm.
it felt like kind of a middle finger at the first one, which I really didn't like. But I was mystified why people liked the first one so much. I didn't know what that was like. And again, back to Arthur Fleck, I just don't understand what the point of it is. Why do these movies exist? And if
Mhm.
they're going to exist, why do they insist on existing in Gotham as a setting? You know,
Yeah.
so
I mean, I think it is just a budget thing because I keep bringing it back to Fight Club. Like the narrator of Fight Club doesn't even have a fucking name. The entire thing that's amusing about him is his mental problems and inventing Tyler and like the world that surrounds him.
Mhm.
And Arthur, I think, is that same thing. It's just like this gray box that like interesting things can come out of. But in this case, it's interesting things are being thrown into. And that's so the Glasgow smile of it all. I think it's the same thing as that burning down Gotham at the end of the first one, or that idiot that throws him in the car in that one really good long shot. Which, by the
Mhm.
way, really good long shot.
Yeah.
I'm sure they have a
that
hidden
was
cut
good.
in there, but fuck, that looked good. But like, I think it's just this nothing inspiring people. Is the kind of, I don't know, in quotes, point of the piece.
But I guess what I find frustrating about that though is that then asking me to care about him is that it seems like it boils down to, yeah, but no one cares about Arthur, but you haven't given me a reason to. You've just shown me that he's this sad, that people are just throwing stuff on, but he doesn't react or do anything other than look sad.
But
You know, I mean, he
is the
eventually like,
movie?
go
But
ahead.
is the movie asking you to care about him?
Yes, absolutely. The whole crux of the final the final courtroom scene is him coming to the realization that he's not Joker, he's Arthur Fleck, and it's bad that you like him as the Joker, but it's not. But you don't like him as Arthur Fleck because they're the same guy.
Yeah, I guess that just you found some empathy for him at the end. I don't think it really asks you to. I don't know.
What do you think
I guess
empathy means? I guess. Like, what do you
I mean,
mean? You just said
like-
that you're not supposed to feel bad for him, but you're supposed to feel empathy.
at the end, you
Yes.
see like the end of the sentence that apparently you just truncated with your argument.
Yeah.
Is at the end of the movie you could have some empathy for, but like I'm saying the entire like most of the piece because that's like the last 20
Right,
minutes.
but if your argument is that nothing, that he's just this guy that people throw something on,
Yeah.
because he's a nothing thing, then going at the end, yeah, but you should care about him. Why?
I'm thinking having a moment of empathy is slightly. I mean, I guess having a moment of empathy is slightly different than like caring about him in the totality.
But that's the whole crux of it, though. Is it's not, if he's not the Joker, and it's bad to like the Joker, he's just Arthur Fleck, and you don't care about him. What am I supposed to walk away with that? Like what am I walking away from that with?
Well, he's like inspired. Oh, so here's something. Trigger warning for people that are gun violent averse. But we just had another school shooting in America because it's a day that ends in Y, and
Yep.
our country's pathetic. But the guy was wearing a KMFDM shirt, which us Columbine heads will know is a reference to the Columbine kids wearing KMFDM shirts. This is the third major school shooting that somebody was wearing one of those shirts. That's what I get out of this movie is exactly that. Is the guy with the Glasgow smile, the guy with the stupid thing is just some other asshole with a KMFDM shirt. That has nothing, like, there's nothing to do with KMFDM. It's nothing to do with Eric and Fucko, like, not going to say their names. All it is just people having this reaction to things. And it's the reaction that's the interesting thing, not the thing being reacted to, is my takeaway.
But I guess if to me that would be done better in the first one, is that you have, again, people throwing stuff on him, react like all these like negative things, this guy just slipping through the cracks and can't get all these systems failing him, and then he reacts. Whereas this one is people putting things on him and then he doesn't do anything. And I guess that to me is, and that whole like symbolic thing, then it's just telling me that, well, it doesn't matter what's happening to these people. If they're just going to react whatever, then it doesn't really matter. It kind of takes the onus off of the more structural issues and makes it just a personal thing.
Well, right,
which seems kind of empty.
I mean, like, do we have any indication that Fleck feels bad for killing people?
I think we're supposed to at the end.
Yeah, maybe a little. Yeah, it's interesting because he says it seems like he's got a bit of an I guess to it.
Yeah. Yes. Exactly.
Like, I guess it was bad that I did that. Oh, by the way, I killed my own mom too. I
Yeah.
mentioned that before, but I did that, and that probably wasn't good. So,
Yeah.
Yeah, but she was a real piece of shit. Like I'm not like, look, I'm not saying you like audience at home, not recommending you kill your mom or your dad. I'm going to go that far. No aunts, no uncles, no murder.
Or Arthur Fleck's mom. Don't even do that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Stephanie
don't do
Quick,
that.
We're talking to you.
Yes. No, you can murder Steph Quick. That's fine. I'll give you your address.
No, I'm telling
Um,
Steph Quick not to murder people. She needs to knock
I know.
that
I'm
off.
trying to get a fight between serial killers happening.
Oh, all right.
Come on, man. This is how we get on TikTok. I totally lost my train of thought thinking about Steph Quick being a serial killer. Doesn't matter. I'm sure it's just going to say something stupid. Cumsies, cloaca. I'm a bad boy podcasting there.
Yeah, all the hits. Play all the hits.
Yeah. Oh, so on the I just wanted to point out a couple of the way this film is shot. Looks fucking gorgeous. And there's some amazing, like, just weird shots like that when they go to black screen and just his cigarette ember lights like the entire like focus, like, and it going to it's so fucking good. Like, there's so many like really interesting shots, like just the composition and like the color timings. I'm saying color timing, like I know what that means, but the color look good is what I mean when I say color timing. But like, it looks so fucking good. I think that also was one of the things of I was going into this with so little hope of there being quality that like. The fact that it looked good and it's acted well, like there's so much bringing. Yeah, I was so pleased. And the Southern lawyer thing, I've never been happier. When he just started to do like the full like Futurama / Matt Gorley Southern lawyer, I've never been more pleased.
I felt like he was doing kind of a Matlock too. It was a little bit of a Matlock, you know.
Yeah, it was just a little too late for me on the Southern lawyer thing. I might perhaps be bringing my own baggage to this when I mentioned that. The sort of drabness of the music things make me think of Dance in the Dark, because that is a movie I very much don't like. Kind of for the same reason, where it is just like, this is supposed to be the fantasy he's escaping to, and it's just as crappy. Like, why would you be escaping to that fantasy then? That doesn't make any sense to me. But I'm not an insane clown. But neither is he, really, because the Joker... Oh, no, he is, because the Joker is him. Never mind. The movie felt so like, it just struggled story-wise to get any momentum. That when it broke for music, it was hard to care about that when I'm struggling to care about what's going on outside of the song.
Yeah.
All right, so let me posit something to you here. What if, when cutting to a dream sequence, a song sequence, instead of it being Arthur and Lady Gaga, Shaggy 2 Dope or one of the other ones pops out? Fago, Family, Hatchet Man, we go full ICP.
That is so insulting that you think that's even a question. Obviously, it's going to be great.
Yeah, fair point.
I mean,
yeah,
when have the Insane Clown Posse let us down in terms of quality?
Big Money Rustlers.
Okay. And?
Big Money Hustlers.
Okay, there it is. Yeah.
Well, to be fair, Big Money Hustlers actually is pretty good in comparison to Big Money Rustlers, so.
Big Money Hustlers at least feels like it was made with love. Big Money Rustlers does feel like more of a cash in, but But so do you, AP Strange, going into this, you said you didn't really like the first one. Do you have any strong opinions about the Joker in general as a character, as a cultural icon, any of that?
Yeah, I absolutely do, because I was kind of rambling about this to my son, and I started going on this whole tangent about the Joker and what the character of the Joker means, and I was like, God, this might be a bad thing for me to talk about on a podcast, because I could just talk forever about it. But yeah, I mean, I can accept that we're talking about something that exists. Well, I don't know, I have a hard time with it, but I can accept that we're talking about the universe in which the Joker I know exists, right? Like Gotham, the DC Gotham Dark universe. I guess that's what they were calling it, or an elsewhere of Gotham, different version of it. And you have to view it that way, I guess, with these movies. That's what bothers me about applying the name Joker to it, because the Joker means very specific things to me, and to all of us that grew up watching Batman. There's consistent hallmarks to Joker, and I think Gotham is one of the few shows that got to show you a range of Jokers in one series, So, and we already talked about that, but yeah, I mean, he was one of the earliest villains that Batman ever had. I don't know how deep into this we want to get, but
go for it. We're all nerds here. It's fine.
Yeah, I mean, I actually kind of wrote about him years ago, and got into the history of it, going back to The Man Who Laughed with Conrad Veidt and the book on which it's
Mhm.
based. And there's this whole tradition of murderous clowns in opera from Pagliacci and other different operas, which are based on stories, and some of which are based on real life. But then Bill Finger, I guess, one of the stories is that he was inspired to create the Joker based on a playing card Joker with the image
Mhm.
on there. And with the playing card aspect to it, playing card decks didn't have Jokers in them until they were manufactured in America. Because during the Civil War, they used to play ochre, and you needed an extra card for a trump in there. So that's why they invented it. So the Joker card in the deck of cards is an American invention. So I always thought of it as like this old world European kind of primordial horror of like a murderous clown or a clown that loses his shit, mixed with like an American kind of gangsterism and industry and entrepreneurship angle to it. It's something that's not exactly, it doesn't gel well. It's chaotic. It's a chaotic balance. So you never know what you're going to get with the Joker. And the Joker isn't necessarily evil. He just does whatever he thinks is funny at the moment. He just does
Mhm.
whatever he thinks is going to get him his, and he gets his jollies. And
Yeah.
I use the example from well, problematic now, but Neil Gaiman's Whatever Happened to the Cape Crusader. I don't know if you ever read that one, where it's like kind of a Batman's funeral and everybody's showing up for it, and
No.
Oh yeah.
I don't think I've said that. I'm thinking of the Superman one. The
Whatever Happened to the Man of Tomorrow.
yeah, that one. Yeah.
That was Alan Moore, and this was kind of
Mhm.
inspired by that. And it was Neil Gaiman doing the same thing with Batman, but it's Batman's funeral, and it all exists in kind of like this weird numinous dream realm. But the Joker shows up and gives his keys to this kid that's sitting outside the funeral parlor, I guess, and is like, "Go park my car." And the kid's just like, "No," and he goes, "Why?" And he goes, "Because you'll kill me." And he's like, "I only kill people when it's funny. What would possibly be funny about killing you?" Like, I think that's a great insight into the Joker psyche, and I think Gaiman got it there. And so many of the comic writers nail it. They really do. And Moore nails it, and when he writes the Joker, and the writers of Gotham really got at it. I think
Mhm.
there's elements of it in Burton's 1989 Batman. Jack Nicholson does a really good job, and Heath Ledger shows you a darker version of that same kind of thing when he plays Joker. And it's a proud tradition of just a very scary, chaotic vision of what it could be, what a villain can be, right? So
Yeah, hearing about the Heath Ledger thing, I was just reading that they wanted the first movie to end with him giving himself the Glasgow smile, but cutting his cheeks. But the Christopher Nolan was like, no, that's Heath Ledger's only. You can't do that. But the reason they did it this time is because Christopher Nolan is no longer with WB.
yeah, so they don't give a shit what he
Because
thinks.
yeah, so he's like,
Yeah.
you can't, we don't have to kowtow to you anymore. Doesn't matter. We'll just do it.
Does anyone really give a shit what he thinks, though?
Yeah, well, yeah, there's that as well. But I think that brings up a good point of like, it kind of makes you think of Brazil, the ending of Brazil, where it's like the only response to this is to go mad, and that's kind of part of the Joker's whole thing. And so this version of the Joker, or not, or whatever, I guess, is it feels like that Patton Oswalt bit about the prequels, where it's like, well, he's a little kid and he's sad. Like, that's like, oh, the Joker, you're doing with him. Like, yeah, he's a guy and he's sad. Oh, but then he becomes Joker. Yeah. And then what happens after that? He's sad again. I just feel like the first movie didn't matter. Like, if you just sort of started off with this one, if you came to this one just solely not having seen the first one, I'm curious at what the response would be. Because I think part of my irritation with this one comes from the first one.
Yeah.
And like, it was fine. Like, it was better than I expected to be. Like, didn't have much expectations going into it about the quality, and same thing with this, but I just wasn't expecting it to be so just dreary.
So I
throughout
can
the
answer
entirety
part
of
of that for you. Well, not answer, at least give you some insight.
Mhm.
I watched this movie with someone that had not seen the original Joker,
Mhm.
and he really enjoyed this one.
All right.
He was engrossed. He followed it. So there's that. But also, it's my friend Tyler who doesn't watch movies all that often.
Mhm.
So grain salt, grain salt,
He
grain
has
fine.
never
salt.
watched a movie. He's like, what
Yes.
wonder is this? He's never
He-
Why are all these
he-
small men trapped in this box?
It is a rare thing. Yeah, I showed him that one of the train coming at the screen, and he was
Oh,
scared for weeks.
that was
He's like,
just
Alex,
cruel.
you tried to kill me.
Yeah, that's just cruel, man.
Yeah.
just hiding behind the couch, curled up in the fetal position. Couldn't get him out.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, just freaking the fuck out. Yeah.
The other point about the Joker, and I'll just leave it at this because this is really important, is that any origin story that you create for the Joker specifically is wrong. You're never going
Yes.
to have one. Now, the way Alan Moore wrote that was he gave you a backstory of the Joker with being the Red Hood and going in to rob this place, and something terrible happens, and it's one bad day that makes him snap. But at the end of that, you come to realize that that was all just something from his fevered imagination. He just made all that shit up in his own mind to justify who he is. And
Mhm.
that's the way the Joker's origin always needs to be, because he needs to be mysterious. Like there needs to be an unknown. There's an unknown quantity that produced this psychotic clown. And so, and again, I know Arthur Fleck's not the Joker, and I knew that right from the jump, because it's like, there's no way that this man that's just crippled by all of these traumas and the attendant neurological problems, and I guess the mental illness that goes with it, and dissociative stuff. Like, how is he going to be a criminal mastermind? Like, he's not going to get there from there.
Mhm.
You kind of knew that was the case, and then just to have the whole first movie, I guess, be a delusion at the end of it. I walked out of the movie theater after the first one and said, "Well, that was about what I thought it would be." I didn't really like it, but it's kind of what I expected. And then the more I thought about it, I just got madder and madder. I got really mad over the course of a couple of days just thinking about it.
Sure.
But
I'm
So-
I'm still that way with Interstellar, so I understand completely.
I didn't feel that way about this one. So
Yeah, I think that's a fair point, because it's like talk about like not becoming a criminal mastermind and doing all this stuff to justify stuff to himself. It could have used a little bit more of that, I guess, maybe.
Mhm.
Like it makes sense if you're like, okay, want to do what if this, in this world of gritty reboots and this realistic stuff, what would a realistic Joker, be like? Maybe he's not a criminal mastermind, maybe he's just a guy that got pushed too far, whatever. That's one way to go about it, but then to have the reaction to that be nothing, like what would happen if that happened? Well, he'd kill a guy and then feel bad about it. It just, I don't know. It feels like you could have wrapped that up in one movie rather than two. I just feel like so much of this was just felt like the first one again. It felt like an epilogue to the whole thing rather than a fully complete realized story.
yeah.
And I think what that's like you're saying, like, it's not these sort of standards that you could do whatever with these characters, but there's this sort of idea of what the Joker is and these certain earmarks that he has that this just ignored entirely. So if you're looking for a Joker movie, this is not.
Yeah.
You're not.
Oh,
getting
Because
the Joker
you don't
movies.
necessarily have to put Batman in it or anything, but
Right.
Yeah, I do somewhat wish this wasn't called Joker or Joker 2 Folie
Mhm.
for both of them, because I think that the movie isn't. These movies are not good Joker movies, but
Mhm.
I enjoyed both of them for different reasons. This was an interesting film. A film of this budget doing what it did is fascinating to me. Like I just, the fact that this exists, like, almost gives me hope that movies can be good again.
Yeah, I
Not
mean,
even to say like this movie's good, just like that this happened is so fascinating to me.
yes, taking a big swing like this, I think, is impressive, and I think I don't necessarily like the swing that he took, but yes, I agree that taking a giant swing like this, there should be more of that, rather than just be like, does this fit the storybook that we have?
Yeah.
The program Bible, the show Bible we have for Batman.
Oh, and we didn't. So I don't think we talked about her quite enough. I don't know Lady Gaga at all. Like, I mean, I know some of her music or whatever, but like, I thought she did between adequate and terrific in this role, and I was not expecting that from someone I know to be a pop star.
Yeah,
I thought she was really compelling to watch.
no, she's a fine actress. I got no real beef with like her performance. I kind of wish it was a little bit more, the early Gaga stuff when she first burst on the scene and was all like, crazy high fashion dresses made of meat and stuff like that. I think there's an element of, you want some of that, but now that she's entered into her more like Madonna respectable era of, mainly, it's like I hear more about her for her acting than her music anymore. She's less like this audacious figure.
That would have been fun. That would have been the way to go, I
Yeah.
think. It's just the delusions and the song and dance numbers that are like dream sequences. Why not make them like over the top supervillains, like blowing shit up, and her dressed in like a meat dress or something, like
Yeah.
wearing crazy
Yeah.
costumes? Because when they're singing and dancing, that's all they're doing is singing and dancing. Like to your point earlier, if you're gonna fantasize, why not go big with the fantasy and like you're taking over the city or you're actually building a mountain, whatever that means, right? Like
Yeah. And if you want to make the argument that like, well, yeah, he's a dumb idiot, that's fine. That's not necessarily fun to watch. You know what I mean? Like that's not necessarily compelling just because it might be the way it would be. That doesn't make it necessarily interesting to be in a movie. But I think like doing something more like that, or just because particularly like having her sing next to Joaquin Phoenix was not a favor for Joaquin Phoenix. I'll say that.
Well, she
She
did
That's
can-
interesting.
because I was reading
Yeah.
that was part of her acting is she sang differently. She was like, well, this character isn't going to know the professional singing techniques, so I'm just going to forget
Mhm.
those, and I'm going to sing like
It's just-
somebody that doesn't sing professionally. But she still,
sounded
great.
better. Yeah, it's still like you can't. I'm going to pretend I don't have talent.
Now, see,
Didn't
that actually
work.
worked for me because the one time Joaquin actually like sings, he sings well. He has a good voice. Just most of the movie, he does the purposeful bad voice, but in that one dream sequence, he actually like carries the tune real well.
Right. And the shadow at the beginning was actually Nick Cave, I guess.
Really?
I know that it was drawn by the guy who did Triplets of Belleville, which I was surprised to learn. But that would be very funny because there was slick back hair, all black. That makes sense. Nick Cave.
I mean, I feel like they could have leaned more into the Looney Tunes aspect of it too.
Mm-hmm.
I could have done with more of that. A little bit more merry-go-round breaks down going on.
Yeah, I guess I think what Alex, what you see as a strength, I see as a weakness, which is the Arthur Fleck being nothing is I don't find compelling. Is really what it boils down to.
Yeah, I felt seen for once, and I don't want you to take this
Mhm.
away from me. Finally,
Yeah.
there's a loser on screen that went nowhere, and fingers crossed gets shot at the end of the episode. That's finally representation for me.
It was certainly a thing I watched. Is kind of how I felt about it.
Yeah, it's not even like I'm not like mad at it. It just I was there. It killed some time.
Not that we need to solve this or that we can solve this, but that her being pregnant is just horseshit.
Right. She said so.
Yeah,
Okay.
Yeah.
Because they brought it back to the Joker steps, and on the Joker steps, she said that she made that up.
Mm-hmm.
Because she's a big liar.
Oh, did you see
too.
that part? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Which is not a dream, which is real. Phillips himself has confirmed that interaction was not in his head.
The one on the steps.
The one on the steps.
Oh, I don't like him confirming that. Okay, fuck you, Todd Phillips.
Yeah.
No, I want the ability to have this entire movie be, like none of the Murray Franklin happened. It's literally he's just in a cell in the first movie, still making this entire thing up.
I mean, so is the idea, because I was originally, as soon as the bomb goes off, I'm like, well, none of this is happening.
That's
This
what
is
I was
all,
thinking, yeah.
that this is just the end of Brazil. But so is the idea that not her, but just some big Joker fan blew up the
Well, there was a
courthouse?
whole mob of people outside that were like,
Right.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, because there's that guy that picks him up before that big long uncut sequence. So yeah, presumably there was a bunch of like Joker stands out
Yeah.
there, and one of them blew up the building. Yeah.
Because I think like that's when it to me like was starting to get interesting. That idea of like if this guy is indeed like nothing. Again, kind of going back to the being there thing of these people like putting all their hopes and dreams on this sad weirdo guy. That's extremely interesting, and that's just kind of tossed off there at the end. I would have been interesting to see a little bit more of that, I suppose.
Right. Well, in both movies, because in both movies they kind of have that element of it at the very end, and then they just kind of the movie ends, and you're just like, can we see how that plays out? Like Gotham did this too, where you have the first guy where you think he's going to be Joker, and he televises the bank robbery or taking over the police station, I guess, and that you see citizens of Gotham, they do this whole montage where people are watching this on TV and then being like, yeah, why don't I be evil? Okay. And like
Oh,
picking
yeah.
up a knife and going in the other room. Like that was so good. It was a great way of just like Joker as a mind virus going out there,
Mhm.
you know? And incidentally, worth mentioning, probably not related at all, but when they were filming that courthouse scene, a lot of people, it was right around the time Trump was indicted, and people thought it had to do with that. They thought he got arrested.
Oh, really?
Not related to this, what I was saying prior.
Oh man,
I don't want
What a
people to
stupid
draw
world.
connections, but
yeah.
So one of the things people were talking about this movie, and well, maybe you don't need to comment on this, but we'll make it easily cuttable. Somebody in one of the reviews said like that, and pardon the phrasing, I'm using phrasing there, trigger warning, yada yada, close your ears, but that he had the Joker raped out of him was the phrase I heard multiple times in early reviews. I think there's intimation that he was sexually assaulted, right?
Was there?
There was one spot that I thought maybe that's what they were going with, like by the closing statement kind of area where like I think he gets jumped in prison, and that's where he's like, I wasn't the Joker, like he's all sad sack the next day.
well, the guards.
There was
roughed him up.
discourse online that was like basically they fucked the Joker out of him.
I didn't. If that's the case, I didn't catch it.
Yeah.
The guards beat him up, and then they strangled his friend to death. He had that little like lackey.
Yeah, I don't know. I wasn't part of the online discourse. I just read shit. I'm
Yeah.
on Reddit, unfortunately.
I don't know. I didn't catch that. And it seems like if everything else didn't, I don't know why that would. That seems odd. Also, it just seems odd thematically to just be like a Deus Ex rapina or however you want to call it. To you know.
Yeah. I don't follow, but I see headlines and I report on them. That's my job.
People on the internet said it, so it must be worthy of discussion.
Yeah. If someone said it, it's got to be true on some level.
I mean, that level of thinking certainly didn't destroy this country the past 20 or 25 years. It's definitely not left us where we're thinking about invading Canada.
Yeah.
But again,
You mean
also, this just kind of harkens back to what I said earlier with the guards at Arkham. Why did they get so mad and beat him up and kill his friend? Like, it seemed like they were being nice to him before, and then they were mean to him, and it just like they're really inconsistent. I don't understand where the guards are coming from.
Yeah, it felt a little bit like, well, we like you, but also know your place. Like, don't get too friendly. Like particularly like Brendan Gleeson, who is great. Like, I love to see that guy. I did not know he was in this, so pleasant surprise there.
The Irish stereotype cop.
Yes, but then when they like just kill his friend basically, or like for sitting on the steps, that felt a little broad for what some of the other movie was. It felt a little incongruous, I suppose.
Yeah. Do we have any final thoughts on Joker Part 2? Folie do.
No thanks, I guess would be my final thought.
I would say, go in with low expectations, and if nothing else, just listen to the sweet, sultry tones of Joaquin Phoenix and the better tones of Lady Gaga.
There you go. And I say it's a firm. I liked it. And I wouldn't actually recommend it to anybody really, but I liked it a lot. So I think if your brain is as broken as mine in this very specific way, a lot of quality here that you're going to like it a lot. Yeah, you have my specific brand of ADHD, CPTSD, and just generalized low self-esteem. Joker 2, it's the movie for you. Folie do, all things rhyme. So as Mr. Strange knows, and I didn't tell you to prep for it, so I'll have John and I go first. We have a recommendation section to say, have we watched, seen, read, etc. of anything that we enjoyed recently? John, do you have anything for the audience?
Yes, I recently watched Son of the White Mare, which is a Hungarian animation from like 1981 that's kind of a retelling of some folk tales. It is mind-blowing.
Oh, really?
It's incredibly trippy, and cyclical images meld into one another. It's very psychedelic, although the filmmaker does not like you to describe it that way because he wants it to be more, he's like, I don't do drugs. It's more dreamlike. But it's because it's based on like old myths. It's kind of repetitive. It's about like these three brothers. And so it's every test, everything they encounter is like one brother does it, fails. The second brother does it, fails. And the third brother is the best one and he does it right. But it's still just visually, it's unlike anything I've ever seen.
Yeah.
And so highly recommend that one.
That sounds cool. I have a book recommendation, assuming I haven't done this on the show already because I finished a few weeks ago, but I read Piranesi.
Nope.
By Susanna Clark. Susanna Clark, you probably know from Doctor Strange and Mr. Norrell. Mr. Norrell, it was a TV show recently.
Yeah. I read that book.
So this is another book by that author, and it is really fucking good. For people that follow the career of one young master, Alex Bolin, There is some heavy kind of periphery, the way I write magical realism vibes in this. So much to the point that it was actually kind of weirding me out at certain points because I was like, this actually seems like scenes that I would have written. And oddly, I mean that as a compliment, and I'm not sure how to square that with my own low self-esteem. But anyway, yeah, high recommendation, high praise from me. It does lose steam in like kind of the last third, but it's a short book, so it's fine. But it's the first whole. It's one of those things that once you know what's going on, you're like, all right, yeah, let's get to the end of it. But like finding out what's going on, like getting to the center of the thing, well, super rewarding.
Okay, well,
Nice.
I will recommend a documentary, a crime documentary, and it's one of the wacky Netflix ones, but this one is extra wacky. It's called Kings of Tupelo. So if you want to see dueling sometimes bandmates, brothers, Elvis impersonators that fight with each other, one of which has
Yes.
a foot fetish and comes under
Yes,
investigation
absolutely.
for sending poison letters in the mail. And there's I don't want to tell you too much more about it because like this is the kind of thing where like every step of the way there's another layer that gets added to it. But yeah, I mean, Elvis impersonators, that's pretty right up front. And the guy gets kind of mind fucked by conspiracy theories about, it's wild. It's a wild ride. It's 3 episodes. Each one's an hour long. Wicked easy to binge.
Oh, perfect.
They don't drag it out. They don't throw in tons of filler to like make you stick around for 6 or 8 episodes. It's just the right amount of time to spend with truly wacky characters that I guess exist in Tupelo, Mississippi.
Hell yeah.
That
Yeah.
sounds bonkers. I definitely need to check that out.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That is-
love. AP Strange, can you please tell our audience, the ones upon ones of our listeners, where they can find you on the internet?
Tell Steph Quick where she can find you on the internet. Tell Steph Quick and you where you can find you. on
There's the
internet.
ones upon ones. There might be somebody else who knows.
Yeah, well, I might triple my listenership then, because you can you can find my podcast on any podcast player. It's called the AP Strange Show. I made it really easy for people to find me. So the way it has been going. Every other episode is basically an interview with somebody that I think is cool and weird and has cool and weird things to share. And the other episodes are about movies. They're my third time's a charm episodes where we just talk about the third movie in a movie franchise, just the third one.
Oh, perfect.
So
Nice.
I'm not going to go as far as that other podcast. Ow, my knee hurts.
Uh-huh. Yeah,
Bring it back.
thank you for saving. Thank you for Alex. That is the most effective marketing of our podcast so far, frankly.
Yeah, I mean you can tell I've listened to this show too much. So
No such thing.
yeah, this may hurt a bit. I actually gave you a shout out in one of the episodes because somebody
Oh, I appreciate
recommended
that. Thank you.
I do Critters 3, and I was like, I'm like,
Ooh.
somebody just did that actually, and it was
Yeah.
great. Yeah.
It's all right. Like particularly compared to what comes afterwards. Critters 3 still has some moxie. Plus young Leonardo DiCaprio,
Right.
which is
Really?
very bizarre. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that's been a lot of fun for me. Just I love talking about movies, so I really do appreciate you guys having me on because I'm a big fan of the show, and I enjoy doing it. I like doing it on my own show, but this was a real treat to sit in with you two, and I hope I didn't disrupt the dynamic too much.
No, I'm still as
the
angry at
folly I do
Alex as
between
ever.
you two.
Yeah.
No, you'll have to come
Only
back
got
sometime
20.
for sure.
Yeah, absolutely.
This was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
All right, so we've been talking about the Joker not being the Joker, so we should see things from the other side of the coin. His arch nemesis, the Green Knight, movie by David Lowery, who have we covered on the show before?
I don't know. I mean, it certainly sounds familiar, but I don't remember if we've done it on the show. But I don't remember my life or anything.
Yeah, but classic medieval folktale, involves books. Alex likes that, and so we'll be revisiting that. Dev Patel,
Hell
also
yeah.
good. So
Cool.
yeah,
All right.
more folklore
Indeed.
and stuff. Yeah.
All right. See you then.
Goodbye.